everyone. Today is Thursday, September 28th, and welcome to RMU Live. I'm Kay Sirwan, and we have a great week ahead of us, but let's recap on one very interesting event. So, this past weekend, it was the alumni event at RMU, and we had Hannah Shifley go out on the street and ask tons of alumni what it was like to be back at RMU. Hannah, take it away.
Thanks, guys. It is alumni weekend here at RMU, and we have a bunch of alumni stories to get to you.
I think my favorite memory is the friends that I developed. We all get together for this event every year, and we just pick up right where we left off. I'm having an awesome time. Good friends, good camaraderie, health and happiness.
I'm just here for the people, just to see my friends again. It's good to be back. Hopefully a good football game too, but I'm just here to see everyone.
RMU was such a great time for the duration of my time here. I feel like it's tough to narrow it down to one specific moment, but I gotta say, you know, one of the years at homecoming. I mean, it was an awesome time year after year. I love seeing the student body come out, alumni come back, catching up with old friends, family. I see people that haven't, you know, they're like 50, 60 years old. For them to come back, it shows, you know, kind of how strong the Bobby Moe tradition is. So it's got to be one of the homecomings, but it's tough to narrow it down to one.
As you can see, there are many alumni students who have come back for the RMU football game against Lynchburg, and many of them are very excited to be back here at RMU. Now, back to the news desk.
Thank you, Hannah. Now, earlier this morning, there was some breaking news in the world as actor Sir Michael Gambon, known for his role as Albus Dumbledore in the Harry Potter series, has died. Gambon died peacefully in the hospital after a battle with pneumonia. Frequently nominated for awards, he won the Oliver Award 3 times and the Critics' Circle Theatre Award twice. He also won 4 British Academy of Film and Television Arts Awards for his television work. His best-known role came later in his life after taking the role of Albus Dumbledore from the 3rd through final Harry Potter movie. He would retire from the stage in 2015 after struggling to remember his lines in front of an audience because of his advancing age. Gambon was 82 at the time of his death. Now, moving on here, we have the coming up Cultural and Business Tapestry with Dr. Nick Boggs, the Fall 2023 Rooney Scholar. Step away from the cliche narratives of Autobahn and Oktoberfest, explore business management's intricacies and academia's stimulating environment. What sets this lecture apart? Dr. Nick's personal touch. Join us and experience Germany through his eyes. This is not just a lecture, it's a holistic exploration. Don't miss it out and mark your calendars. And last night, Residence Life helped students dealing with stress by hosting a stress management get-together in the Yorktown lobby. Students were brought together to learn how to help reduce anxiety. One way to do that will be something so simple as squeezing a stress ball, which is exactly what students were able to make during the lessons. There was no cost for this event, so students went home with both a free stress ball and a freer mind. In a resounding call for women's rights at the heart of life and liberty, the slogan Women's Life Freedom, known as Kurdish Jin Jayan Azadi in Kurdish and Persian Zan Zendegi Azadi in Persian, has become an emblem of defiance. This slogan gained prominence in the English language media due to its adoption during the September 2022 protests in Iran and abroad. These protests followed the tragic death of Jawad Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Sunni woman from Iran's Kurdish minority, while in custody for her choice of attire. Amini's death served as a stark reminder of the growing authoritarian within Iran's regime amid increasing economic instability. To shed light on this woman-led activism for freedom in Iran, an event is being hosted by the WLMP Women's Life Freedom Movement in collaboration with the Center for Global Engagement. Local women life freedom leaders will provide an overview of the movement, followed by an interactive forum. Stay tuned for more on this powerful initiative. With so much going on in the world of sports, we have to take a way to break it down. Colby Sherwin is at the sports desk to break it all down. Colby?
Thanks, guys. The Steelers were back in primetime as they took on the Raiders in Allegiant Stadium for Sunday Night Football. In a game where the Steelers seemed to dominate most of the time, it came down to the wire as when the Raiders were down 8 with under 4 minutes to play, the football genius, Josh McDaniels, elected to kick a field goal. One of the most baffling moves I've seen in quite a while, as the Raiders were set up with an iffy roughing the passer call on Minka Fitzpatrick. Ultimately, it spelled the end for Las Vegas. For the first time in his career, Kenneth Shane Pickett tossed 2 touchdowns in the game. The Steelers now head to the Lone Star State to take on the Houston Texans, where the Steelers haven't been since 2017, where they beat the brakes off the Texans on Christmas Day. The Texans look to end a 3-game losing streak versus Pittsburgh. Last week, the Bucs were in 2 NL Central showdowns as they took 2 of 3 from the Cubs and the Reds. They were ultimately eliminated from the playoffs in the Red Series. On Tuesday, they opened the series against the Philadelphia Phillies and will finish the year against the Miami Marlins to end the 2023 campaign. No news has been made on Andrew McCutcheon's contract. And the Penguins are back on the ice as they open the 2023 preseason. On Sunday, they had a split squad scrimmage against the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are on their 2nd head coach of the season as Mike Babcock resigned after going through people's phones to, quote, get to know them. On Tuesday, they fell to the Red Wings in Detroit, and tonight they host the Sabres in the Paint Can. Pitt takes on Virginia Tech as they continue to lose and may be making a quarterback change as Phil Dracovic went down at the end of the first half in the loss to UNC. As potential first-round pick, Drake May torched the Panthers for 296 yards and a touchdown he threw with his left hand. Finally, RMU Sports, the men's soccer team fell 3-2 against the Milwaukee Panthers and drew a surprisingly chippy game 1-1 against St. Bonaventure. The women's soccer team took down Wright State 4-2, but also fell to the Milwaukee Panthers 3-0. And in their 4 matches this week, the volleyball team fell to Wright State 3-1. They beat Cleveland State 3-1 and then lost 3-0 to both Milwaukee and Northern Kentucky. And finally, the football team kicked the crap out of Virginia Lynchburg as they won 46-0. Yes, RMU fans, we were on the winning side this time, 46-0. Anthony Chickett didn't have a lot of work as he went 11 for 16 for 251 yards and 4 touchdowns. Noah Robinson had another big day as he scored and had 139 yards as well. They took on Howard to look to go over 500 for the first time since 2021. That's all for me. Let's send it back to the desk.
The Steelers will be facing rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud as he faces his toughest challenge yet. Could we break it down next week? And hopefully for the 3rd week in a row, this time he might button up that top button. Now after this break, we're going to be going to Tim McGraw stopping in Pittsburgh and even the Amtrak going to New York. Take it away. Yep. Welcome back to RMU Live. Let's get right back into it. In Pittsburgh this week, 2 missing girls were later found safe and sound on Monday. 15-year-olds Akira Harris and Kaylee Phillips went missing after last being seen at Penn Avenue and were believed to be at risk. Pittsburgh police asked for help from the public with any information of the 2. A day later, an update from the police came in that both girls had been found and are safe. No information is available on what caused teenagers to go missing. Earlier in the week, a man was busted at an airport in southwestern Pennsylvania for having a stash of fake IDs on him. TSA officers said the man, who coincidentally has not had his real identity released, claimed to be someone else when caught carrying a counterfeit ID. TSA found not only a deck of fake IDs, but equipment to make even more. In response to the terrorist attacks of 9/11, the TSA requires passengers 18 and older to have valid ID at airport checkpoints because the agency said it lowers travel risk. The man was later arrested on a felony count. On Tuesday, Amtrak, the National Railway of the United States, announced they will be expanding service from Pittsburgh to New York after a deal between PennDOT and Norfolk Southern. Amtrak will be able to send 2 round trips a day between the two cities after the agreement to expand passenger rail service was made. The Pennsylvania Amtrak service currently travels between New York City and Pittsburgh through Harrisburg once a day, but the new agreement supports increasing service. To make this happen, over $200 million of investments into infrastructure and safety improvements will be made. After the Pittsburgh Steelers' 23-18 road win against the Las Vegas Raiders, the Steelers had to make an emergency landing in Kansas City, Missouri, early Monday morning. The plane reportedly had to land due to oil pressure failure in one of the engines at 3:55 a.m. A spokesperson for the team reported that everyone on the plane was safe, and the team made it safely back to Pittsburgh. Cam Hayward, defensive tackle for the team, joked about the whole ordeal by asking for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce for a ride. And he also said that it was Minkah Fitzpatrick's fault due to his roughing the passer call. In a controversial decision, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has granted approval for a fracking wastewater disposal well in the Plum Borough. Local residents and environmentalists have voiced concerns over potential groundwater contamination and seismic activity. Proponents argue that this will boost the local economy and provide much-needed jobs. The decision is expected to ignite further debate on the environmental impact of fracking in the region. Breaking news for country music fans in Pittsburgh. Tim McGraw, the Grammy Award-winning country superstar, is set to light it up in the Steel City. Mark your calendars for Saturday, April 27th. Tim McGraw will be taking the stage at PPG Paints Arena for a night of unforgettable country hits. Fans are buzzing with excitement, eager to hear classics like Live Like You Were Dying and Humble and Kind. This promises to be a night to remember. Tickets are going fast, so grab yours now and get ready to two-step the night away with Tim McGraw in Pittsburgh. Yeehaw. Now we have the weather with Nathan Kingston. So now tell me, are there any plans that need to be canceled?
Thank you, guys. Now let's move on to our lovely weather for this week. As for our hourly, we'll start off at 3 p.m. We have a high of 69 degrees, and it's going to be pretty much cloudy. Moving over to 6 p.m. today, we got a 68 degrees on the high with partially cloudy. And then going over to our 9 p.m., we're looking at 64 degrees and a little bit of overcast tonight. Let's move on over to today's forecast. For today, we're looking at a 69 degree on the high and a 59 on the low. And it's going to be a humidity of 76 degrees, so it still might be a little hot out there. And a 30% precipitation with that humidity of 76 for that matter. Now let's move over on to tomorrow's forecast. As for tomorrow, we're looking at a 72 degrees on the high and a 59 degrees on the low and an 82% of humidity. So as for me, my hair's going to get real curly, if you know what I mean. And going over to our precipitation, also a 30% there. Now let's move over to our 5-day forecast. As for for Friday, tomorrow, we're looking at 72 degrees on the high and a 59 degrees on the low. It's going to be pretty much cloudy all day. We have a 73 degrees there and a 60 degree on the low there for Saturday. Moving on over to Sunday, we are going to be partially cloudy for pretty much the whole day with a high of 76 and a low of 60 degrees. And as for Monday, we're looking at a 77 degrees on the high and a 63 degrees on the low. It's going to be partially cloudy again. And then on Tuesday, to wrap up our 5-day forecast, we have a 79 degree on the high and a 62 degrees on the low. That's all for me and for weather. Let's send it on back to the desk.
Thanks, Nate. Surprised we're going to be October and still seeing temperatures almost in the 80s. Coming up, Hollywood and the Writers Guild have come to an agreement. More details will come up after the break.
When I first saw Turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's just the little moments. If I could go back and change it all. If I could go back, I would. But I can't.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Worried about your friend but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR, it's all good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should.
Whatever gets you talking. Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Whatever gets you talking. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back to RMU Live. Besides the government resuming free COVID tests, there's a strong potential for a government shutdown. Here are the details from Mike Valerio.
5 days. That's the time left for members of Congress to reach an agreement. Both sides of the table at a standstill. Some lawmakers saying a government shutdown looks inevitable. A shutdown could cost the U.S. economy $6 billion a week and put a strain on millions of Americans.
We cannot go into government shutdown. I know this is a political thing. However, that's just cannot be an option because it does put the economy in a place where checks don't get sent out. You know, businesses start closing down.
If lawmakers fail to pass a federal funding bill this week, the impact on American consumers is significant. Major travel disruptions and public health risks as the EPA halts inspections at hazard waste sites and drinking water facilities. There could be food and housing impacts and museums and park closures. There's an even bigger impact on federal workers.
60% of the American workforce live from paycheck to paycheck. The people that I represent are no different. 1 week without a paycheck could be devastating.
So who's to blame? Congressman Tony Gonzalez says everyone.
House Republicans are to blame, Senate Democrats are to blame, and the president is to blame. And there's real people that are going to get hurt. Everyone thinks that they can just point the finger at someone else.
Well, you have to keep the government open. I mean, if people want to close the government, it only makes it weaker.
I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
Thank you, Mike. The Biden administration recently announced they will resume offering free at-home COVID tests in preparation of a possible resurgence of the virus before the winter. The program, which had already provided hundreds of millions of free tests, will be restarted through the Postal Service. $600 million will be spent on tests through a dozen different manufacturers to then be sent out to millions of Americans. They have already started accepting orders, and if you'd like some for yourself, visit covidtest.gov. Each household will receive 4 COVID tests. In a miraculous turn of events, missing toddler in Michigan was found safe and sound after an intense search. 2-year-old Emily Johnson had gone missing in the woods near her home, sparking massive search operation. After 5 tense hours, rescue teams discovered her sitting under a tree unharmed, as she was protected by the family's 2 dogs. Search and rescue teams worked tirelessly, using drones and K-9 units to locate the toddler. The little girl is now safe and back with her family. In Florida, a 13-foot alligator was killed after it was found with the remains of a woman in its mouth. A witness told local media he saw the alligator in a canal with the lower torso in its mouth. The remains of 41-year-old Sabrina Peckham were later found in the waterway, and the animal was hence killed in a humane way. A fundraising page has been set up for Miss Peckham by her family, who said the woman was living in a homeless camp near the wooded area at the time of her death. Nearby residents said they had seen small alligators in the area before, but not of the size of the animal found in this case. Interesting note, the medical examiner's office is yet to determine the cause of death. The Writers Guild of America has finally made a deal with major Hollywood studios to return back to work. This comes after facing more than 140 days of being on strike for demanding for better pay and protections. Yvonne Rodriguez from CNN has the details.
A crowd of Hollywood writers burst into celebration as word spreads of a tentative agreement with the major studios.
We're trying to save writers' ability to pay their rent, to pay for a mortgage, to put kids through school, to save for a rainy day.
It's a significant turning point for the nearly 5-month-long strike. Days of marathon negotiating sessions began last week once the CEOs of 4 major studios actively joined the conversation.
I feel like they realize, like, oh, I actually need to be present and actually hear what the writers and our workers are saying, because I don't think they really thought we were serious.
The deal still needs to be ratified, but the WGA released a statement saying they could authorize members to return to work before that, when leadership meets on Tuesday.
All right, everybody.
Daytime and late-night talk shows will likely be the first to return to your screens, but most other major productions will have to wait for their actors. SAG-AFTRA, representing about 160,000 actors, also hit the picket lines mid-July. There is hope that the studio's agreement with the writers will also allow it to reach a deal with the actors.
This is a really significant window of opportunity these next couple of weeks. If we were able to get back to the table and talk, there's a small possibility you could get things into production before the holidays.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Thank you, Yvonne. WGA has reached a 3-year deal, however, the contract has still yet to be ratified by the union. As a result of the agreement finally being made, writers are now heading back to the writers' room to resume work on movies and TV shows. This past week, when talking of the NFL and singers, everyone is of course talking about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. In the midst of all this, the NFL announced that 8-time Grammy Award winner Usher will be headlining the Super Bowl 53 halftime show. He previously appeared during the Super Bowl 45 halftime show as a special guest. Some of his Billboard Hot 100 singles include Burn Love in This Club, and if you have ever been to any wedding ever, you've definitely heard his song Yeah, featuring Lil Jon and Ludacris. The show will take place on February 11th of next year, and Usher says he can't wait to bring the world a show unlike they've ever seen from him before. Coming up, we have some information coming out of the UK about the allegations against actor Russell Brand. Stay tuned after this.
Bring it.
Time out, guys. I'm late to dinner. My mom's gonna kill me. Catch you guys later.
Mom wants us home. Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys need a ride? Sure. Yeah. All right. How about some one-on-one?
I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Welcome back to RMU Live. In a shocking turn of events, British comedian and social influencer Russell Brand is facing allegations of rape, sexual assault, and abuse by 4 women during a 7-year period at the height of his fame. Brand vehemently denies these allegations. London's Metropolitan Police Service, or MPS, has initiated an investigation into these grave accusations. After extensive media coverage confirming receipt of multiple complaints related to sexual offenses considered now recent. The Sunday Times and Channel 4 have published an investigative report on the allegations. MPS's Central Specialist Crime Command Unit, led by Detective Superintendent Andy Furphy, will spearhead the investigation. On Monday, an infamous mob boss in Italy died just months after capture. Italian mafia boss Matteo Messina Denaro spent 30 years on the run before his arrest earlier in the year. He had colon cancer when he was captured in January, and his condition only worsened until his eventual death. The man dubbed as the last Godfather, he was the last of 3 longtime fugitive top-level mafia bosses who evaded capture for decades. Denaro was seen as the last of the old generation of mafia bosses. He was given multiple life sentences for crimes which include kidnappings, bombings, and murders. His body is expected to be returned to Sicily for a private funeral. Libya's prosecutor general has ordered the arrest of 8 officials as part of his inquiry into the recent flood disaster that killed thousands. A flood that many liken to a tsunami broke through 2 aging dams on September 10th after a storm of hurricane strength ripped through Derna, a port city in Libya. The arrested officials are suspected of bad management and negligence, with 7 of those people currently on previous offices responsible for water resources and dam management. According to the latest toll announced by the country's authorities on Monday, at least 3,875 people died in the disaster. International aid groups have said 10,000 or more people may be missing. If you have ever wanted to say, "Get out of me, swamp," while jamming out to Smash Mouth, now is your chance. Airbnb is offering a weekend stay at Shrek Swamp in the Scottish Highlands from October 27th through the 29th. The official listings say ogre enthusiasts can find peace and quiet watching the leaves fall in this mud-laden, moss-covered, murky-watered oasis. That is Shrek Swamp. Guests will be able to light earwax candles, sit around a fire, and will be treated to Donkey's freshly made waffles for breakfast. They stick to source accuracy with the bathroom as well, which is an outhouse. It does have a sink, toilet, and shower, though. The offer is for up to 3 guests and will be available for booking on October 13th at 1 p.m. And if you do somehow get the booking, please don't do anything Shrek wouldn't do. We now have a woman from Wisconsin who is keeping the Guinness World Record for her collection of Winnie the Pooh.
I'm Deb Hoffman, Guinness World Record holder of the largest Winnie the Pooh collection in the world.
A collection over 20 years in the making. It's home in Waukesha, Wisconsin. From stuffed animals to keychains and even a faucet. If it's anything Winnie the Pooh, Deb Hoffman has it.
And so people say, well, when are you going to stop? I don't know that I'll ever stop because I don't want to stop having fun.
A collection that won't stop growing.
Every once in a while, I'll kind of think, geez, it'd be kind of fun to see if I can break my own record.
And that she did. As of February, Hoffman broke her own Guinness World Record.
So my last record was 20,000 in 2020, and this year in February, it was 23,623.
A collection that she says is worth $1 million.
When people actually come into the room, they're like, oh my gosh. And they just look around and they're so awestruck with how many there are.
And one that has grown tremendously since she was first recognized by the Guinness World Record in 2008. The collection back then claiming over 3,000 items. Hoffman says she believes she has a collecting gene. The item that started it off was this Winnie the Pooh phone when Hoffman was in her 20s.
And I think, oh, look at that, a Winnie the Pooh phone. I loved Winnie the Pooh as a kid. And then one day I went into the store and it was gone. Now for 6 months, I didn't need that phone. Now I had to find that phone.
And the rest was history. Her collection is displayed in her home. The collection's so big, they had to build an addition for the rest of her items. Hoffman says she finds items at thrift stores, through the internet, and some are even donated. Her biggest motivation, the experience this hobby brings.
You know, it used to be, ooh, there's another one, I want to get that. And what we have found over the years is everything that we've done to be part of the collection, we've gone different places, we've met different people. And I think to myself, why would I want to give that up? It is so much fun, the people we meet, the things that we do. And we probably wouldn't do those if it weren't for the collection.
Winnie the Pooh's name was inspired by a real-life bear named Winnie from Canada. During the First World War, a Canadian soldier bought a bear for $20, and then he brought that bear to the London Zoo.
Christopher Robin Milne and A.A. Milne went to the zoo and they fell in love with the bear, and the bear's name was Winnie. So the lieutenant's hometown, the lieutenant who purchased Winnie, his hometown was Winnipeg.
Because of her love and fascination for the bear, Hoffman and her husband MC the Winnie the Pooh Festival in Winnipeg, Canada. She's also written a book about her over 20-year collection and where it's taken her. And all she hopes she inspires others to continue to follow their passions and their hobbies.
If you have a passion, follow it. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So if there's something that you like to do you like to collect? Do you like to drink coffee? Do you like visiting museums? Do you like a sport? Whatever it is, follow it and have fun.
It's nice to see that someone out there still has so much care for Winnie the Pooh Bear. Well, that's all we've got today on RMU Live. Thank you for joining us. My name is Curtis Irwine, and we will see you all next week.